Take responsibility. A classmate who used to look down on me. We hadn't seen each other for years, but a chance encounter led to a reunion. As adults, we sometimes apologize for our mistakes. She was one of those people, but I had something to say to her. Little did we know that one sentence would drastically change our fates. My name is Alex Foster. I'm currently working as a pediatrician in a hospital, though I've only returned a few days ago. Until then, I was training at another hospital. Training might not be the right word. It's more like I was sent away by my mentor. I used to work at this hospital under my mentor. But as soon as I ran out of things to learn, my mentor told me to gain experience elsewhere and threw me into a different hospital within the same network. However, it allowed me to gain various experiences. It's a fond memory. My mentor is retiring, and I was recommended as the successor. It's been 10 years since I returned. Although I've only been back for a few days, today is my first day starting work. Despite all I learned from my mentor, nothing starts until I actually see patients. In pediatrics, many children come in suffering. I need to carefully examine each one and always stay alert not to miss any critical signs. That's why collaboration with nurses is crucial, especially since I've only just arrived. Nurses know the patients better, from their characteristics to how to cheer them up. Honestly, I feel like I might hold things back at first, and few nurses know me. The veteran head nurse, Dorothy, is an acquaintance, but naturally, the new or mid-level staff either don't know me or have vague memories. Thinking about it, 10 years feels like a long time. It's almost like starting from scratch in terms of relationships. So, I decided to start by memorizing the names of the nurses working in pediatrics. After all, it's only natural to call people by their names, and getting them wrong is rude. But then, as I was looking through the list of pediatric nurses, I came across a familiar name. Sarah. Seeing that name brought back memories. I'll never forget, it was back in high school. Ever since I was little, I wanted to be a doctor. That was because I admired Dr. Brown, who encouraged me when I was sick and scared as a child. I wanted to be a doctor like him, but becoming a doctor is not easy. Even if you make it into med school through hard work, there are still walls of knowledge and skills to overcome. It's a field where new things are constantly being discovered and researched. So, I was studying hard since middle school. Otherwise, an ordinary guy like me wouldn't stand a chance at med school. I certainly joined a highly prestigious high school known for its academics. There, I met Sarah. She had a certain aura about her, drawing attention from everyone around her. To put it simply, she was the popular center of attention in our class. On the other hand, I was just a plain, inconspicuous bookworm that could be found anywhere. I was utterly absorbed in my studies, aiming to get into medical school. I didn't bother making friends. In fact, I preferred to spend any potential chatting time studying. Despite the importance of communication, I, in my youthful ignorance, didn't bother to learn such skills. But from others' perspective, I was just a classmate who only studied and barely spoke, seemingly annoyed when spoken to, difficult to approach, to say the least. Sarah seemed to look down on me. Look down might not be the right term. At the time, I thought she did, but reflecting on it as an adult, it was more like she was trying to look out for me, albeit in a harsh tone. Most people avoided me, not even attempting to converse, and some even disliked the idea of speaking to me. Naturally, no one wants to talk to someone who ignores greetings. But Sarah was different. Even when everyone else had given up on talking to me, she kept trying to engage. Why don't you try to be a bit more pleasant? Greeting is the very basic of basics. You're not participating in group activities again. That kind of behavior holds everyone back, you know. When someone is kind to you, you should say thank you. Didn't you learn that in kindergarten? You're going to have a hard time in the future with that attitude. She would meddle in my affairs like this at every opportunity. Back then, I found it incredibly annoying. I thought she should just leave me alone, but thanks to her, my high school life was quite lively, to say the least. Looking back, she was probably the only one who bothered to meddle in my business so much. And just like that, I found myself reminiscing about the past. It's unbelievable to think that someone with the same name would be in the same workplace, let alone the same department. Such coincidences do happen, it seems. But then... Wait, Alex. Sarah. It wasn't just someone with the same name, it was actually her. When I showed up at the nurse's station, there was Sarah. Her hair was long and black, tied back, and she had a quiet appearance, but she still somehow managed to stand out, just like before. She must have always had the natural charm to attract people. I recognized her immediately, but it made things awkward. After all, she knew me from back when I could barely hold a conversation. It's utterly embarrassing. Of all places, she had to be the only one at the nurse's station. Dorothy had gone to the restroom, it seemed. No way, Alex. I thought it was a coincidence that the new doctor had the same name. I'm just as surprised. Sarah, flashing a bright smile, glanced around nervously. Realizing it was just the two of us, she said, "You're a doctor now, haha. I never thought you'd actually become one. But don't hold us back like you used to, okay?" Ick. I must still be that unapproachable classmate to her. Ahaha, I'll do my best. All I could do was offer a wry smile. After all, the old me was indeed terrible, to the point where it's understandable that she'd caution me not to hold anyone back. But that's all in the past. Fortunately, I acquired a decent level of communication skills after entering university, and I've been a doctor for 10 years now. I'm a bit different from back then. I noticed Sarah's eyes widen from a distance as she saw me talking to Dorothy, having returned. Seeing her reaction made me feel somewhat happy, as if I had grown a bit, but the embarrassment of being reminded of the past made me avoid her and stick with Dorothy for the rest of the day. However, a week later, Sarah asked to have a serious talk with me. The location was the break room, as she offered me a coffee and took a seat. I wondered what this urgent discussion could be about. If it was about work, Dorothy would be more suited for the job than me. What could she possibly want to talk to me about? I didn't have the best impression of her, but if it was work-related, I had no choice. It might have been something difficult for her to discuss with other nurses. With that thought, I was ready to listen. But Sarah hesitated, fidgeting and unable to start. Just when she seemed nervous and downcast, she suddenly apologized. "I'm really sorry for my disrespectful behavior." What? I was taken aback by her unexpected apology. This was a surprise to me too. It's fine. I wasn't bothered by it. That's not the point. You've been avoiding me ever since, Sarah said, looking down. I realized I had inadvertently caused a misunderstanding by avoiding her to not be reminded of the past. See, I've always been meddlesome, right? Even though I knew you found it annoying, I kept talking to you. I said things like "don't hold us back," out of habit, which was incredibly rude considering the effort you were putting into becoming a doctor. I've been wanting to apologize, but you've been avoiding me. Sorry. I just remembered the past. I explained to Sarah how I neglected communication in the past, and how being reminded of that now made me feel embarrassed. The past me was pretty bad, wasn't it? Having someone from the past at work makes things a bit awkward for me. So, that's how it was. I thought I had offended you. Not at all. If anything, I'm grateful, I said, clearing my throat and checking if anyone was around. What I was about to say was a bit embarrassing. Actually, I'm still pretty new here and things have changed a lot since the old days, so I'm honestly still a bit confused. Dorothy is busy too, and I don't have many people I can talk to without reserve, so I was hoping for your support. Perhaps she had intended to assist me all along. With that thought, I suggested this to Sarah, and she widened her eyes in surprise, laughing. You really have changed. You used to hate even talking. Her smile was stunningly beautiful, and it took me by surprise. No, I shouldn't get any weird ideas. Sarah is a single mother, after all. Just yesterday, her son wasn't feeling well, and she had to take an emergency day off. It's silly for me, a single man, to be charmed by Sarah, who is busy raising a child. Sure, Sarah might be single now, but that doesn't mean she doesn't have a partner in mind for remarriage. I shouldn't look at an old acquaintance with rose-colored glasses. I was determined to stick to this resolution, but it would soon crumble. This happened about half a year after I joined the department. As it got colder, the number of children catching colds increased, making the pediatric department busier. During this time, Sarah was no exception. Her son's ill health led her to leave work early on several occasions. And in the past few days, she had been taking some time off, which started to concern me. Though she must have a regular doctor, hearing that an old classmate's child is unwell naturally made me concerned. In the past 6 months, Sarah had been a great help to me. With her natural charm, she was popular among the nurses and had a lot of influence. That's why she was quick to notice any dissatisfaction among the nurses and often provided me with valuable advice. I have my own way of doing things, but I don't want to cause confusion in the field. In the process of finding methods that work well for everyone, Sarah's information gathering proved to be incredibly valuable. That's why I felt the desire to repay her kindness in some way. Still, I hope her son is all right. These thoughts occupied my mind as I worked through the night shift. Since our patients are children, we conduct night shifts to prepare for any sudden changes in their conditions. But tonight, I was called to the nurse's station. Apparently, Sarah had called. It was past 10 p.m. What could it be at this hour? Hello, this is Alex. Alex, what should I do, my son? Sarah was clearly distressed. Her voice trembled, and I could tell she was probably crying. From her panic, I sensed that the situation was dire. Calm down, Sarah. What happened to your son? He's vomiting blood. I tried to call an ambulance, but all the nearby ones are out. Vomiting blood. Your house is close to the hospital, right? I'll make arrangements with the emergency department, so bring your son in immediately. After asking Sarah about her son's age and symptoms, I gave her these instructions and hung up. Today was Sunday, and at this time, it would take a while for an ambulance to arrive. Since their house was close and she could transport him by herself, that seemed like the better option. I immediately went to set things up with the emergency department at the hospital. Knowing the symptoms in advance makes it easier to respond. After relaying the information I received, I made all the necessary preparations and waited for Sarah's arrival. Soon after, Sarah rushed in, carrying her 5-year-old son. Her face was pale, and her confusion was evident. No matter how accustomed one is to seeing sick children at work, it's understandable to be shaken when it's your own child. How long ago did he start vomiting blood? Were there any other symptoms? I don't know. He suddenly started coughing and then vomited blood. He seemed a bit unwell before, but I never expected it to get this severe so suddenly. Got it. Let's have a look at him. Sarah, try to calm down. If you remember anything else, let me know right away. I tried to soothe her, who was pale with fear, and headed to the examination room. A few days later, It turned out that Sarah's son, Tyler, had developed severe pneumonia. It started as a common cold, but Sarah's parents had given him cold medicine in an attempt to help, which delayed the discovery of his condition. Moreover, Tyler himself didn't want to trouble his mother and didn't mention his symptoms, making things worse. Early detection is crucial for children's colds. While it's fine to administer cold medicine when you know it's a cold, taking it unknowingly to suppress symptoms can lead to severe conditions by the time it's noticed. Over-the-counter cold medicines only alleviate symptoms. They don't cure the root cause. In this case, the deterioration was likely due to Sarah being unaware of the actual condition. Fortunately, because she brought him to the emergency department quickly, they were able to treat him, and the medication worked. After some time in the hospital, his condition began to improve. "Thank you so much for everything. I'm sorry for panicking like that." "It's fine. That's a normal reaction. Any mother would worry if her beloved son suddenly fell." Besides, Sarah had only recently gone through a divorce. It was due to her ex-husband's infidelity last year, which must have been stressful for Tyler, possibly exacerbating his illness. Regardless, she was relieved that he was on the mend now. However, she insisted on personally thanking me. I was in such a panic. It never occurred to me that I could just bring him to the hospital myself since we live so close. You calmed me down and extracted the necessary information. And to think, you used to be so bad at talking to people. You've really grown up. And I have to admit, it's a bit frustrating. She said this with a smile. Her clear skin and sparkling smile were beautiful, and I caught my breath. I remember, I used to find Sarah annoying, but I could never really dislike her. That's what I never forgot about her, and just seeing her name brought back memories. So, my high school life wasn't disliked but noisy because, deep down, I had feelings for her. Realizing this at my age, I must be incredibly dense. It's a chance for gratitude. While I don't see it as an opportunity, I do want to get along better with Sarah, given the chance. So, I gratefully accepted her offer of thanks, but I'm mindful of the fact that she's a single mother. I made sure to be considerate about that aspect. Thus, when Sarah invited me for a meal as thanks, it turned out to be at her place. I was a bit surprised, but Sarah and I are old classmates, and there's nothing inappropriate about our relationship. Reminding myself of that, I decided to visit their home after Tyler had recovered and been discharged from the hospital. I brought a gift to celebrate Tyler's discharge from the hospital. "Sorry for making you go out of your way," she said, but I was just happy as a doctor to see a child discharged safely from the hospital. I insisted on celebrating regardless. Sarah lives in a small apartment with Tyler. Knowing I was coming, she prepared hamburgers. To be honest, it's incredibly delicious. I almost finished them all without realizing. This is amazing. You could open a diner with this level of cooking. Oh, you think so? Definitely. Be confident. I'd come to eat every day if I could. Then, come and eat. Sarah laughed as I got carried away with my compliments. Despite being a mother, her smile hasn't changed from our school days. Seeing the same old Sarah made my heart race, and I found myself wanting to be with her forever. I'm not the same guy who only studied and was introverted. Now, I feel I could be by her side. I've gained that much confidence, I believe. From then on, I was treated to her homemade dinner once a month. But I couldn't just eat for free, so I made a deal to play with Tyler in exchange for the meals. Sarah, being busy with work and household chores, didn't have much time to play with Tyler. So, my offer was greatly appreciated, and I took him out for outdoor activities like playing ball on my days off. Seeing Tyler fully recovered and running around made me as happy as if it were my own achievement. He grew quite attached to me, even crying when I had to leave sometimes. For that reason, I've stayed over a few times, and what started as once-a-month visits turned into 2, then 3, and before I knew it, I was living with Sarah and Tyler. I intended to date her properly before any talk of living together, but I truly fell for Sarah. So, I told her, I want to be Tyler's father. I want to be by your side. To which Sarah replied, Tyler wants to call you dad, and I too want to call you my husband. Really? Yes, and you always enjoy my cooking so much. That makes me really happy. It's because your cooking is too good. Seriously, you've completely won me over with your food. I feel like I can't do without it now. You've got to take responsibility. Okay, as an apology, I'll cook for you, she said, blushing yet smiling, and we became a couple. Our relationship skipped straight to marriage from being classmates, but things between Sarah and me are good. If the high school me saw this, he'd be shocked. Marrying the woman who I thought looked down on me. Well, it was just my misunderstanding that she was looking down on me. Life is unpredictable. But one thing I can say is that I love Sarah now, and I see Tyler as my son. We hadn't had our wedding ceremony yet because Sarah is pregnant, but someday, we want to have a small wedding with Tyler and our new baby, be it a brother or sister. Working in pediatrics, I see many children, but my son is the most adorable to me. Marrying me has given Sarah more time and financial freedom, allowing her to spend more time playing and going out with Tyler. The increase in smiles in our family makes me happy. I must continue to do my best so that Sarah and Tyler can remain happy.